Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It, episode 163. We have Matt Collins, who's the owner of Baseline Fitness. He's been in the personal training fitness game for over 25 years. Great arms, great shoulders, great glutes, and we get into all things fitness. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom. As always, glad to have you here listening. And for everyone that's writing reviews, wanted to give you a shout out for that too. I have 3 reviews that I want to read. These are the most recent ones we got on
new
Apple.
segment.
We got 3 new reviews.
Nice.
This one's from October 23rd. Casey2791 says, Dr. Randy is my favorite. This podcast would be so vanilla without him. I sit by the phone eagerly awaiting the drop of each new podcast. It's that good. I have another one here. EK21. Dr. Randy is truly the best part of this. He's so funny.
What? Who are you paying for
And
these?
then there's another one, October.
Are these from India?
It says that Dr. Kloss is so hilarious. He's so intelligent. I love listening to his opinions. His co-host is cool too.
Oh, nice. All right, good.
So yeah, you got a
So it's
good
official.
shout
Okay,
out
then those
on
are
there.
real. Those are real.
Definitely real ones on there. But if anyone wants to give us reviews, we read them. We like them. So we got a great show for you today. We have, and I don't have on here, the owner of Baseline Fitness.
That's correct.
I was just making sure I was reading it. We were talking before about all the different base ones on here. I wanted to make sure I say it right. So welcome to the show. Thanks
Glad
for being
to be here.
on
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about yourself. How did you get into this world?
Oh, wow. So I've been in this world for almost 20 plus years now. So I was a ex-athlete, played baseball briefly in college, a little immature, got a little lost. And so my college baseball career was a short one, but just that's when I kind of fell in love with fitness. And then I don't know how long y'all have been in Columbia, but y'all remember the Columbia Athletic Club back in the day? So it's Trader
We're
Joe's
like Trader
now.
Joe's, yeah.
So that's where I've got my feet wet in the late 90s. Started working there, started training people, and I've been doing it ever since. You know, I've evolved from, gyms to private training studios to opened my own gym in 2013 at the current location I'm at. Fell flat on my face, didn't know a whole lot about business, and sold that after 2 years. And a year later, I bought it back and have been rolling ever since.
Whoa.
No kidding.
So we opened a gym called Mad Performance Training in 2013 at the current location we are now, and just really had no concept. I knew I wanted to do this on my own, but I didn't know how to run a business, and so learned the hard way that there's a lot that goes into that. And so I held on for about 2 years, and finally I just said, I got to get out of this for a second, sell it. And, it presented the opportunity to buy it back a year later, and I felt like I'd learned a lot from my first go-around. And so we changed a few things, and ever since then, it's evolved and turned into a great little business. And so we've been there since early 2018. So going on 7 years as Baseline Fitness. But yeah, I've been. I was talking to a guy the other day. I don't know if you know Ken Taylor. Y'all know that name?
No.
Ken Taylor's been in the fitness business around Columbia for probably 35 years. But I'm one of the last old guard guys, the guys that have been doing this for 20 plus years, and we've watched the fitness world just completely change from where it was when I first started to where it is now, and it's been a neat evolution to look at. It's a lot different than what it was 25 years ago. Good and bad, I think. But yeah, it's a different world. It used to be gyms every 2 to 3 miles, and now you have, I think on Rosewood alone, there's probably 10 to 15 places you can go work out. It's just crazy.
They're all over now.
It's all over.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got in the business. Been in it a long time, and really have never done anything else. It's what I've loved. It's my passion. Fitness is what I love to do, and love to coach people and teach people, and just really help people along this journey. And so,
What did you mean when you said you were immature as an immature baseball player?
Well, I just meant, life's hard. I've had a lot of obstacles to overcome in my life. I don't know if we want to talk about that today. I'm willing to, but I got a scholarship to play baseball at the Citadel, and got down there and just really just immature individual. Had some issues, some struggles with some addiction stuff in my past that that I'm very open and honest about today. That has kind of molded me and shaped me into the individual I am, and have overcome those things. But it was a hard road for a long time, and so when I talk about immature, a lot of life learning lessons, I guess you could say.
What position were you in baseball?
I was a catcher.
A catcher?
Oh,
So are
catcher.
catchers weird? In hockey, goalies are always weird.
Yeah.
So I imagine in baseball, pitchers are the weird one. Or would it be the catcher?
I would say pitchers are probably your receivers in football. I think pitchers are the different guys in baseball. I was kind of the typical kid growing up. I played shortstop and kind of evolved over time, and then became a catcher in high school, and loved it. I mean, I would have done nothing else now. I mean, it was a great position. You're the field general out there. You're in control, and it just keeps you active the whole game. But I loved it. But I would say pitchers are probably the guys who are the different guys on the baseball field.
That would make sense to me.
Baseball players in general, we're known as being very we have a lot of little oddities about us. We jump over the foul lines. We wear the same undershirts all the time. Just
Superstitious.
a lot of superstitions
Yes.
we have as baseball players.
Our one friend, Jeremy Wilson, who we went to chiropractic school with, he shaved his arms all the time and said that it was a baseball thing.
Okay.
Did you shave your arms?
Did you shave your arms?
I've never been a shaving of the body hair. A lot of bodybuilders. I've been around a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of those guys. But that's one thing I never got into was shaving
shaving.
the body hair.
How's your chest hair? Do you have good chest
Now
hair?
I do trim my chest hair.
Just a buzz, though.
Just
you
a
don't go-
buzz.
Yeah.
And I don't take the straight razor to it, but I'll take the clippers to it when it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Manscaping, I think is
You
what they
have
call
to,
that.
Yeah, do that. That's right.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4for health.com.
Now, when did you land your wife along this whole journey? Like, how did that happen?
Okay.
Back in baseball? Back in...
No, so this is my second marriage. My wife is with us in the studio today. We've been married 6 years now. This is my...
Nice.
But I got married my first go around fairly young, 23, 24.
Yeah.
Talking about those immature years that I was in, and a lot of hardship through my marriage with my first wife. We lost 2 kids, and so a lot of things to overcome. And so that was a very tumultuous time in my life. And, I met this lovely woman about 6 years ago, and I'm a pretty emotional guy too, so I'll try not to get emotional on y'all in the studio today.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, I'd love a few tears.
If you love a few tears, I'm the guy. I'm the guy to come to. But we actually met through some mutual friends. They introduced people I go to church with, introduced us, and we got married about 6 years ago. And we have a blended family. So I have an 18-year-old who's a senior in high school that lives in Greenville, North Carolina.
Nice.
Football, lacrosse player, and we had senior night this past Friday night, and so he's from my first. And then my wife has 2 from a previous marriage, and then we have a 4-year-old little daughter that has just got her daddy wrapped around her finger.
Yeah.
And so we've been married about 6 years, and that's how we met. It's the mutual friends at church. And,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And so you started 2013, you said.
That's when I went out on my own.
Originally. And I see this in the chiropractic world a lot too, where people right out of school, they'll be like, all right, I'm just going to start my own. And then you ask them a few questions and they have absolutely no clue what they're in for. And I think if you stick with it for long enough, you keep learning, if you can survive that first bit, then you learn a lot and then you can do really well. But what were your big insights when you started out the first time?
I'd been in the business for so long, and I was kind of at that place where it was, hey, we either need to pursue another career or we need to try to go out on our own and do this. And that's kind of what led me to I'd been in a private training studio for about 4 years. A guy named Sonny Arnold, I don't know if you know that name. Former Mr. South Carolina. Tragically took his life about 6 years ago. But I'd been there about 4 or 5 years, and I was just at a place where I was ready to venture out on my own. But I had absolutely, and I'll be the first to tell you guys, business is not my strength. I am a people person. I love people. I love relationships. But the behind the scenes, the marketing, the advertising, the books, and all that stuff is not something I'm good at. And so I opened with really, I did a little small business plan. I think, I picked up one of those business plan for dummies. I was like, okay, I can do this. So I had some guys that believed in me, that gave me a little bit of money, and got into it, and I just was engulfed by the business side of it, if that makes sense. And didn't really have a vision for what I was trying to do. Didn't really have a culture I was trying to create. I just was training people. I was pretty much doing what I was doing, in a private training studio, but I had a whole lot more overhead.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah,
You have a
that's the
minimum.
tricky part. And I
Yeah.
just couldn't grow the business. I mean, I could grow my capacity to train people, but I couldn't bring other trainers in. I had a couple trainers that came in. It was a nightmare. And, I didn't have any membership at that time. That's something now I have at the gym is we offer open gym membership.
Nice.
So we've got about 60 members, with the goal of that is to cover my overhead. If my membership covers my overhead, that's kind of what I'm looking to do with that.
Yeah.
And so I just had no concept of that stuff. And so I just was really doing exactly what I was doing with 3 times the overhead and trying to just pour more people into my schedule. And I was just running myself ragged. Yeah. And so I just had to get out of it. It was killing me.
So you sold it.
I did. I sold it to a group of guys that actually, we talked about Paul Beckwith a little while ago, but they were a group of guys that worked out at Carolina CrossFit, and they just wanted their private gym. So it was a group of about 8 guys who bought it from me, and they just used it as a private gym.
Wow.
And so they had that there, and then they came to me about a year later and said they just wanted to get rid of it, and did I want it back? And so I thought about it, prayed about it, and I thought that I'd learned enough to be able to go into it. And so I did some things different, got some trainers, hired some trainers. I have 7. That's the majority of what we do is training. We have 7 trainers there. They're all independent contractors. So I hired Darby Graham, who's a trainer in town. She's been around for a long time. And so she came over, and so things just kind of started to fall in place. I started to offer membership. And so it just a little bit better vision, systematic approach to kind of what I was doing, instead of just being inundated. And so it's been a blessing, man. Like I said, I'm not a business guy still. Systematically, there's still things that I would love to incorporate. I'm a hodgepodge gym. I can tell people, I've got trainers, I've got members, but there's still no great systematic approach to what we do. What we do is we try to love people, try to care for people, try to teach people. I'm big on teaching and educating and wanting people to think for themselves. And I think we've created a community where if you would interview most people that went into my gym would say it's a great little environment where they're cared about, they're loved, and they're set up to be successful. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we do. The beauty for me is that I'm out of there every day at 2:00. I can leave for 2 weeks and my business doesn't skip a beat. I can spend time with my children in the afternoon. I can focus on my family and do other things that I'm really passionate about. And so we're not knocking down the doors, getting rich, but you know what? My quality of life is good today. I'm there 5 in the morning until about 1, 2 in the afternoon, and then I get to go spend time with my family and spend time doing ministry work. That's a big passion of mine too, and recovery stuff. And so those are the things that I try to pour my resources into today. So
Have you always been a morning guy?
I've always been a morning guy.
Like what time are you up?
Our alarm goes off every day at about 4:15.
4:15.
Yeah, so we're
Is that
rolling.
a Saturday, Sunday deal too?
No, I mean we're out of bed on the weekends probably by 6:30.
Dang.
But every day, I've been 25 years. I've been 4:30 every morning.
And then what's night look like? What time are you going to bed?
Well, this is Matt's weakness. So I talk a lot about the stress recovery cycle with my clients. But the one thing I do not do well is I do not sleep well.
Get sleep.
I'm a 4 to 5 hour guy night.
Wow.
I'm up out the door. I'm in bed, 10, 11 o'clock. I'm not a great sleeper. And my body has acclimated to that, and probably not for a good thing, but it's just the way I operate. I'm in bed by 10, 11 o'clock at night and up at 4:30 every morning.
You ever squeeze in a nap? Get a nice little
I do love a
20?
nap. I do love an afternoon. I used to be an everyday napper.
Yeah.
But now I'm a sporadic, probably 2 or 3 times a week, an hour, 2 hour nap.
Yeah.
And I probably operated very much a deficit. My wife would probably tell you I'm exhausted a lot, which is not a good thing. But I've learned to operate that way, and right now it's the way we do it.
Yeah.
But I am an early morning guy.
Yeah, nice.
So
Life goes in spurts too a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's busy phases and slower phases that you have to recover during the slower phases.
Yeah.
For the busy phases.
yeah.
But your shoulders, arms, that's where you just really focus in on for
No,
yourself.
look at his legs, dude.
Or is
Look
it
at
legs?
his
Let me.
here's what,
You're thinking
Dude,
calves, maybe.
All right, when I looked at Matt,
Okay.
right when I walked in, I
Yep.
thought density.
Oh, really?
Just great density. Does anybody tell you have good density? Is
Is
that a good? I think that's a good thing.
I've
right?
got a good genetic makeup too.
Like everything is just. I mean, like thick.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. Sometimes you have to focus more on one thing than other things,
Yeah.
right? You have to decide the look that you want, the
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Not Matt.
No,
Match just everything.
Look at him. Great quads. Great. Look at. I mean, his arms are busting out.
I know that arms and shoulders is what I was
I
thinking
bet
when
it-
I was staring.
I
at
love
him.
some legs now. Squatting's one of my favorite things to do.
See,
Is it?
It is.
especially as a catcher.
The one thing about working out for me, and this is, we could go down a rabbit hole with this, but the way I train now is really pretty much the way that I trained 25 years ago. The thing about strength, the thing about power, the thing about conditioning, really not a whole lot has changed. How we get stronger, how we get faster, and so I've pretty much been training. One thing I've learned to do, and I had to learn the hard way, is to load management. At my age, I'm 46 years old and can't handle the volume I once used to handle, but I still train with the same intensities. I still train. Like today was a chest and bicep day for me, and so
Smart
Every
for a
day's
podcast.
Every day is chest and bicep.
Yep.
But I train. My first segment's always going to be a strength and power portion, and I'm going to move into hypertrophy, and then I'm going to do a little bit of conditioning piece, and that's the way I've trained. That's the way I train my clients. I train every client that walks in my gym the same. We just modify what we have to modify. If we have to make correctional movement things, we do that. But I think we always need to be working to get stronger. I think we need to be working on power. I think we need to be working, hypertrophy. And then I'm a big heart rate based guy. That's kind of the way that I condition, and that's kind of my philosophy on that. But yeah, I'm a 4-day-a-week lift hard. 2 or 3 days a week zone 2. 60 to 90 minutes, and then I sprinkle in a little bit of high intensity on the days that I lift. Dang. And that's kind of my routine. Always working on movement. I'm a big movement guy. Trying to always master movement. So trying to always work on, doing stuff to help improve movement. I have a bad back. I've had a bad back for a long time. But I've learned to manage that, and the way that I manage it the most is by working on the things I need to and really focusing on load management. My volume has decreased a lot over the years. But it took me a long time to get to where I could let go of that volume.
When you say volume,
Yeah.
what does that mean? I was gonna go with something more clever. Are you saying like just reps?
Yeah. So
Like just the amount of reps?
I think reps, but also with, for instance, today, I love 5x5. I'm also a big Wendler guy, which is a 5-3-1. I'm on a Wendler cycle right now. So we're doing 5-3-1. So today I went heavy, I'm doing, one set of 5 at 75%, one set of 5 at 83 at 85%. And then my 1+ heavy set at, 95%.
So it's like your max. That's your max.
But
Or
I'm always a
close.
sub-max, so I always work off of sub-max. Most
Yeah.
strength training programs are going to be sub-max programs, so 90% of your 1-rep max. But as far as I would say the amount of reps, that I'm doing. My intensity's still there. I'm still lifting heavy, but I'm just not doing quite the amount of volume that I used to do. And really, probably for me, it's amount of days that I lift, and just trying to be smarter with that. We talk about it a lot in our world is the stress outweighing the recovery. And there's so many things that go into that factor, and I've had to learn how to better manage the stress side of it and spend more time in the recovery world, if that makes sense.
Maybe is it if you have bigger traps, then your shoulders look bigger? I'm trying to figure it out because if you were to look at yourself and say, I want I want my shoulders to look bigger.
Yeah.
You're going to focus on traps or delts?
No, I'm going to, the king, I'm going to focus on, for instance, I'll take you through a shoulder day,
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do
That's what I needed.
I do a shoulder and tricep day, put a good old push day, and I always start with my good strict press, overhead press,
Standing or sitting?
I'm a standing guy, I think
Really?
and so I'm a standing strict press barbell. I'm a big barbell guy. Now, that being said, I have a lot of clients that axial load, that stuff doesn't work well for them, and so we modify, but I'm a back squat guy, I'm a deadlift guy, I'm an overhead press guy. My goal is to be able to do those things when I'm 70 years old. I still want to be doing those things. So a typical shoulder day for me is going to start with like I said, I'm Wendler right now, is a 5x5, or a 5-3-1 or a 3x5. And I'm a big guy. I pair my strength movements with power movements. So a lot of med ball throws, a lot of stuff like that. So I'll do my strength with a med ball throw. And so, I'm hammering out those on shoulders. And then I go into kind of like a hypertrophy segment, It might be lateral raises. It might be Arnold presses. It might be different heads, hitting the anterior, posterior, medial delts. But that's kind of the way I train. Is the strength and power is about a 15 to 20 minute section, 15 to 20 minutes of hypertrophy, kind of moving through that, and then I kind of finish with a little conditioning piece. But just
So shoulders and triceps don't include traps.
I don't do a whole lot of trap. I don't do a whole lot of trap work. I used to be a big shrug guy. I've got a good friend of mine, that Adam Cornwell, who's our resident meathead at the gym.
I love shrugs.
Who grunts and groans, and he was doing power shrugs this morning with 450 pounds.
No.
And so Adam and I. He worked for me at the athletic club. He's one of my best friends, but he loves some shrugs. But I just don't love shrugs. I do power cleans.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I get enough trap in that.
Yeah.
So I don't do a whole lot of, and I, just naturally, some people, it's all about, some of us just naturally have, genetically have those things, and some of us don't have to work a little bit harder for them. So,
Is your family from the Midwest?
no, my family's from Columbia.
Really?
My mom grew up in Charlotte. My dad grew up in Columbia.
I pictured you look like a Midwest dense. Dense is just
No, my mom's family. I get the bone structure from my mom's family.
Yeah.
Just a big bone structure family. My daughter, my 4-year-old, I say, poor, bless her heart, she's got her daddy's genes. She's gonna have to work hard not to be a big girl. So she's gonna be, but she is the bull in a china shop. Good little athlete, but she's got her daddy's bone structure. And so, yeah, it is kind of that Midwest bone structure, I guess.
I would have said you were from the Midwest
No,
in a second.
I'm a good old Southern boy.
Just like an Iowa Hawkeye, just
Yeah,
ex-football
Iowa. I
player.
could see Iowa. That would make sense.
Now, y'all went to Iowa, right, for chiropractic
We
school?
both did.
Yeah, both went.
That's
there.
that's where we met.
Okay,
Out in Davenport, like Quad Cities.
Okay.
They have that.
cool.
Yeah.
Which haven't been. That was almost 15 years ago. Haven't been back since.
No.
But I don't see myself ever.
No,
going back
there's
there.
zero there.
Yeah.
Have you been
Can't
out to
think of
Iowa?
it.
at all?
Never been to
Oh
Iowa.
yeah, you don't even need to.
No.
It's just I can't even think of it. What would you tell them to visit? The Mississippi River? If you can go to different states. All right, I want to let's stay on the concepts here of working out. One of my friends was telling me that he likes to do basically 2 different workouts. So he would pick like 2 or call it like military press and chest press, let's say. And then he would do 15 sets, 12 to 15 sets of like 6 to 8 each. Have you heard of that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is there's so many different programs and really so many quality programs out there. I never try to reinvent the wheel. I just, the guys that have laid the foundation for 100 years, but I mean, that's a super high. When we talk about volume,
He's saying like that just builds strength like super quick, and you're there for an hour. Like you take 2-3 minutes off in between the sets. So you've done 2 body parts, and you're
it
out.
sounds like German volume training. You're familiar with German volume training? Very similar. It's 2 big compound movements and 10 sets of 10.
Yeah.
And so you would take like a squat and a bent over barbell row, and you would do 10 sets of 10. It's 65. I think the I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure the load on that 65%
somewhere. Yeah.
of your working max. But when I talk about volume, those programs for me nowadays are not good for my body.
Yeah.
And so I try to stay away from that high volume like that, just because my body doesn't respond well to it anymore. And I'm not saying there's guys out there that are 46 that their body doesn't respond well, but I think that's the biggest thing we have to learn how to do. That's the amazing thing about the body is it communicates with you. And you got to be willing to listen to your body.
Oh, I say that all the time.
And
That's great.
people just don't. Number one, they don't want to take the time to understand what their body's saying, which is a big thing. And then number 2, they don't want to listen to their body. Like for instance, I went to deadlift on Sunday afternoon. I picked up the barbell. My back was tight. I said, I'm not deadlifting today. And that's something I've had to learn the hard way, is just to listen to my body and say, it's not what my body needs today. And so I did 60 minutes of zone 2 training that day. And so I think that's a big part of working out is understanding your body, and it's a magnificent thing that really will communicate with you and tell you what you need. You just got to be willing to listen to it.
That's a chiropractic segment right there. A lot of people just medicate past that too.
Yeah.
They won't listen. They just cover it up with medication, and then the body really talks to them with can't work out or other issues that start popping up.
Yeah.
And
But I see the other side of it also, which people think that their body's telling them just stay in bed and don't work out. And, you're a little sore tomorrow. That means you did too much yesterday.
Yeah.
And then they don't do anything.
Yeah. And there's that fine balance, of I tell all my clients, one thing I want is you to be consistent. I want you to create. I'm big on mental performance. Brian Cain, I don't know if you know who Brian Cain is. he's a mental performance coach for a lot of major league teams and big sports people. And, he's a mental performance coach. And I went through a certification about 1.5 years ago. And so much of what we do is mental coaching too, and so really that's a big part of what you're talking about is understanding, it's not okay. Like for me, I could have easily left the gym the other day when I picked up the barbell and I said, my back doesn't feel great. But what I did is I said, I'm going to do zone 2. And so I was consistent. I was still moving. There's no greater value, I believe, in just moving consistently.
Yeah.
And we have to move consistently. And that's the one thing I try to get my clients to do, which is so hard, is to get them just to be consistent with their movement, 6 to 7 days a week of just moving. And so you're right. It's easy to go the scapegoat route. I'm sore today. I don't want to go work out. Well,
I didn't sleep I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. But that's what I'm finding. The older I get, I'm finding that people are almost in one of two categories. Either they're a robot and they need to figure out when to turn it on, turn it off, or they're just do nothing, hard to get going people that need to figure out how to get started and how to keep going.
Yeah.
Have you found that? Different motivation types?
I have, yeah. And going back to kind of what you're talking about is, 5 hours of sleep. I'm sure you're all familiar with Whoop, and I'm sure you're all familiar with. I use
Is that an order? I
use a Morpheus. You ever heard of Morpheus? A guy named Joel Jamieson, who's kind of like a conditioning guru, designed a system called Morpheus, and it's a heart rate system, but it's like Whoop too. It's a recovery score type system, and if I worked out and listened to that system every day, I'd be working out at about a 10% level. And so I think when you're talking about, hey, I got 5 hours of sleep, this system's telling me I don't need to be doing this today. But that's where I have to understand my body too, is that I might be at, according to those systems, 15 to 20% recovery, but I'm listening to my body and it's telling me I can go do a little bit more than that. And so yeah, I think it's a balance of being able to take the knowledge and the technology we have and listen to that, but also be able to listen to your body, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Morpheus doesn't know shit about
Well,
your body.
I'm not going to say that. Joel Jamieson knows a whole lot more than I know. I'm going to tell you that right now. And Whoop, the people that designed that. But what I will tell you is that if I listen to those systems and I look at my recovery score on a daily basis, I should never be pushing myself. Just because of sleep is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
It takes that sleep into your recovery score. And so I have to learn I use it personally for the heart rate aspect of it. I'm big on heart rate based training from a conditioning standpoint. I don't look at that when I'm doing strength training, but my conditioning, that's what I use it for. And I do think there's value, don't get me wrong, in that recovery score. But there's a lot of variables in that. And so I have to learn just to listen to my body is kind of what I do, if that makes sense. But going back to the motivation, yes, you get both ends of those spectrums. The fitness world is just so different nowadays. It's that push, and
yeah.
And I don't know, that it's just a lot of, I mean, it's I think it goes along kind of with the world that we live in, fast-paced world of fast-paced, go do this, go do that. And, it just, people are working out at extreme levels all the time. And so I think from a fitness standpoint, we live in a severely under-recovered and overstressed world. And I think that's really in every aspect of our life. If you really broke it down and looked at it, is that we're always just going. Our ability to manage stress and recovery is not something that we value and look at, if that makes sense.
It's interesting. I was trying to think as you were saying that if I just took 100 people at random in Columbia, lined them all up, how many of them have been working out too much or too little? And I would say if I had 100 people, I think probably out of that sample size, 100 of them would have worked out not enough.
Yes.
So I think the people who are working out too much are all clumping up together.
Yeah.
Probably at your gym.
Hanging
out
my
with
gym.
you. Or where, you want to be around people that are motivated and doing more.
Absolutely.
And it's really tough to be around people that just want to sit on the couch and don't want to work out all day.
Yeah.
Or the people who are always, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Pretty soon you're like, I don't want to be around this person anymore because it's just a drag.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wouldn't quite know is where the line is to figure out if they're overstimulated from their phone, if they're overstimulated from
Well,
stress,
shitty foods.
sugar,
Yes,
food,
diet.
food dyes. People are just getting sick.
Yeah.
I don't. I've never seen, and we've been doing this for 15 years. People are getting sicker and sicker and sicker, despite more technology coming in, and even spine. We look at the spine all the time. Spines now. I was at a seminar where they were talking about the arthritis starting in 14 and 15-year-olds, and it's through the roof. It's something like a quarter of 14-year-olds have arthritis in their spine already, and it's because they're not really developing well because they're on phones and iPads before they can even do anything else. And then even when they hit 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they're still in front of a computer or a screen
not enough
or
movement.
sitting. Yeah, there's no mobility in their spine. So then they hit 20 years old and they want to go deadlift, but their spine didn't even develop properly in the first place.
Yeah. That's a constant I mean, my wife will tell you, I'm always screaming at my kids, go outside, go climb a tree, go run around.
Yeah.
It's just a technology world, man, and it's so bad for these kids, I think, and so I'm always pushing my kids to go outside, because when we were growing up, that's all we did.
Yeah.
We went to school and then we were outside, until we got called home for dinner, and we were playing sports, we were running around, we were learning how to move our bodies and handle our bodies, and now it's just such a different world.
Talk to chicks. I mean,
Yeah.
how are they they're not learning these skills. There's just a pussification of America that's happening
You're
right
right.
now.
They can't communicate.
It's unbelievable. The whole generation is it's a mess out there.
It is an absolute mess.
And yeah, as far as we have to figure out how to change that. I don't know how you get rid of technology at this point because they're integrating it into everything. I mean, even to the point where it's they're trying to create things that stimulate your muscles so you can lay on a couch and get a workout.
Yeah.
Stuff like that where it's what in the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
We're just moving further and further from how God set the body up and mobility, all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Which is just nuts to us.
Yeah.
Now you look younger than Randy, which is nice. So what you're doing's working.
And you're bigger, you're thicker, you're
Oh,
denser
much
than me.
thicker.
I'm generally pretty dense, but he's
He has got
denser
good
than
density.
me.
I could tell if I pushed him, it's not going in very deep. You know what I mean? You
That's
poke
true.
him,
You-
it's rigid. Whereas it might hurt my finger. Whereas me, it's it just goes right. Now on that topic,
Yes.
Where would you poke if you were gonna poke him?
Well-
Would you go stomach or would you go?
Oh,
would
I've
you go
got
shoulders?
yeah, I
some
got
here.
it. That's a good spot.
I've got some
down
here,
there because look at his arms and
I
legs.
know,
There's
I know.
nowhere to poke. But so all right. So for guys over 30,
Yeah.
how do you think it's possible to get back to a 6-pack? And what does that journey look like? It just feels like
It involves needles in your
in the old
butt.
It's possible, but it requires severe discipline. It's not something. I don't have a 6-pack, and nor do I want to have the discipline I need to have a 6-pack anymore. To be honest with you, it's just required so much of the. That's one thing I've noticed the biggest difference. My body personally, 15 years ago to where I am now, is I just can't eat the way I used to be and maintain the leanness that I used to once be able to maintain. And so my goal is not to have the 6-pack. My goal is longevity in what I do. Like I said, I want to be doing this when I'm 70 years old. Do I want to look good? Yeah. I mean, I would think that all of us, if a big part of what I get clients to do when they first come to me is what's the why behind what you're doing? Is we have to be able to identify why we're doing what we're doing. And that might be, I want to be able to sit on an airplane and be comfortable, or that might be, I want to look good naked in the mirror. And so, but we all have to be able to identify what that why is. And that's such a big part of, of what we do, I believe, as trainers and coaches is getting into everybody's why. And so, yeah, my why is not anymore to have a 6-pack of abs. Now, do I think you can do it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It just requires, there's a lot of guys out there that are 45, 50. I say a lot. I mean, we're talking,
That's
we're
what I don't
talking
know.
small percentages.
Mini.
It's 1 in 25,000 or something over age 25.
Yeah.
So you get to 40.
40. Oh.
But these are the guys that are super, super disciplined, and diet. I mean, it's all about diet. It really is all about diet. I mean, you got to have the foundation behind you. It's like I tell people all the time, I've been doing this for 25 years. The thing about strength is it doesn't develop overnight. Body transformation doesn't happen, in 6 months. You talk about biomarkers within the body, strength and VO2 max and stuff like that. Those things don't develop overnight. It's a long journey of developing those things. And so I think that, when we talk about, the diet is just such a big part of it, and not something, to be honest with you, I'm very good at. If I want to, I'm an 85 to 15% guy, but if I want to eat a pizza or some candy or some stuff, I'm going to eat that
Get it
stuff.
in the system.
That's right, man. I used to be that miserable guy, the chicken breast and rice and veggies and
Yeah.
super low fat, high protein, which high protein to me is one of the, especially when we talk about women, it's just one of the most under misunderstood things there is. But I used to be that guy, of carrying my bowl around with my rice and my chicken
and your jug of water
and my jug of water.
Chicks love that.
But I just don't.
and a tank top.
I just don't have that in my makeup. I don't have it in my makeup anymore. Nor do I want to have it in my makeup. It's all about balance to me. And this part of me can become all consuming, and I can get wrapped up in Matt's world of wanting to look good and become very vain and forget about really what's important in life. And I don't want to be that. I used to be the guy that was in the gym 7 days a week, would miss anything to go do my workout, and that's just not the guy I am anymore. I'm still probably a little bit on the extreme side of things, but I try to find balance today, because I need that balance for my sanity. I need to keep, working out is important and it's always going to be a part of my life, but there's a lot of things in my life that are a whole lot more important than working out today.
Yeah.
And so just finding that balance. But getting back to six pack, yes, it can be done.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of discipline.
Are you a runner? Like, do you jog?
I am not. I used to be a big runner, so I used to. That's really how I kind of got into fitness. Was I developed a passion for running. I did a little bit of lifting, but I was a probably 35 to 45 mile a week guy of running. But my body got to where it didn't love running anymore, and so I still run. Like last night or Sunday, was that last night? Yeah, last night I did a little biking and running workout, 400-meter jogs with 3 minutes on the bike, and I still go out and run 3 to 4 miles, from time to time. I'm a big 1.5 mile guy. That's kind of how I test, my VO2 max is based off of what is my 1.5 mile time. And so I'll do that from time to time, but my body just doesn't love getting on the pavement and running for distance anymore.
What would be an exceptional 1.5 mile time for a 40-year-old, do you think?
Exceptional would be, I think, anything sub 10. I'm a 10:50 guy. My goal, I would love to get down around that 10-minute mark, but I think, sub 10 would be exceptional.
Why are you choosing 1.5 miles versus a mile?
For me,
Right, it's a good point.
It's kind of that, when we think about
1.67, someone's going to come out with like a 1.61.
But it's kind of that time frame when we think about VO2 max and barring going to a exercise facility, hooking on the mask, doing all that stuff. It falls into that kind of 8 to 12 minute testing protocol. There's protocols for the 2K row and there's protocols for the 1.5 mile run to test your VO2 max. And that's kind of my standard, and that's why I do that. I'm not going to go put on an oxygen mask and go kill myself inside one of those. So I use that as kind of the standard for myself. I use the 2K row and I use the 1.5 mile run. It's right there, kind of in that aerobic capacity, that anaerobic threshold area. And so I think that's the standard that other people have set, and so I've just kind of follow that. And so that's why I say 1.5 mile and a 2K road just kind of falls into that time frame where I can really test that.
Yeah, Orange Theory always has the 12-minute run for distance.
Okay, so yeah, it's very similar.
So I wonder if that's
very similar.
Kind of the goal behind that.
Yep, so it's right there in that same time frame.
That would
Just
be
to see as far as you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could do 2 miles in 12 minutes, that'd be a 6-minute mile. That'd be quick.
But that'd be really good.
Yeah.
I try to find that, it's the strength versus the conditioning paradigm. How much is too much here that's going to affect too much here. And I'm at a place in my life where I really want to try to be as well balanced as possible. I'm going to give a little bit on the strength world. I'm going to give a little bit on the conditioning world. But I'm going to try to find that mesh for Matt where I can maximize my potential to get stronger, more powerful, but also maintain a VO2 max that's, a healthy VO2. When you look at biomarkers, longevity of life, those are the two gold standards. VO2 max is going to be your gold standard, and strength is right there behind it. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things that I'm going to be working on. If I'm looking at this from a longevity game. Now, if I'm an endurance athlete who needs to, then yes, I'm going to go pour more time and more energy into training, my aerobic capacity and endurance. But I'm not that, and the majority of general population is not that. I mean, we need to be working towards that longevity game, and so that's kind of what I do. I try to find that balance of strength with that, conditioning aspect. And so,
what about supplements? I want to get into testosterone, peptides,
steroids,
tren.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Peptides is the big craze.
Right. It's big right now.
I don't know a lot about any of that stuff, to be honest with you. I've never been a steroid guy. I've never journeyed down that road. Never really had a desire to journey down that road. Peptides interest me. I don't know enough about it to really speak into it. I listened to a 2.5-hour podcast on it, but I know that's the new craze. With the BP 1.5, what is it, 6.7?
Yeah, they have the different ones for different.
Different things. Some work more on recovery. Some work more on strength type stuff. I've always been just a creatine guy with a little bit of a protein powder guy, and those are about the gist of my experience with supplements. I do believe in creatine. I cycle it. My body personally with creatine is I retain a little bit more water weight, and so sometimes I'll cycle on and off of it. But I think from a performance standpoint, it's been tested time and time and time again, and there's definitely benefits. And if you look at studies now, there's a lot of cognitive benefits they're finding with creatine.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm a big pusher, a big proponent of creatine, and then just protein supplement. I'm a post-workout protein guy, and that's really about the gist of my supplementation intake. There's other stuff out there I know that they say you should be taking, but as far as Matt goes, I take a little bit of creatine. I'm a pre-workout guy. Now, I will say that. I'm a caffeine junkie.
Yeah, nice. What are you pumping in there?
So I kind of go back and forth on my pre-workouts, but it's going to be the same. It's going to have a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of beta-alanine, a little bit of arginine, a little bit of that in it. And so I've been doing that, and I think currently I'm taking something called Bum or something like that. The reason I'm taking it is
I haven't tried that one.
I think that I might be
Got it from a guy in the street in a trench coat.
But the reason, all of those pre-workouts, they're really, if you look at the ingredients behind them all, some are, better than others. Some have more additives than others. The reason I'm taking Bum is I found it at Sam's for $18 for 60 servings. And so I like the price, and I like the ingredients. It's fairly clean ingredient, and I think it's Bum. I might be wrong with that, but I definitely do take a pre-workout.
It's like caffeine and sugar, basically, right?
Not a lot of sugar, but it's got caffeine. It's going to have beta-alanine. It's going to have L-arginine. It's going to have those components they say with the nitrous oxides, all those things that they say is a, and I've just, personally, I do it as just a habit. I just like my pre-workout.
Yeah.
As part of my lifting routine.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
And so as far as supplement, but I'm very curious about peptides. I don't, I'd love to do more research on them to see. You guys I don't know what y'all's experience is with them, if you've studied them much.
I haven't got into any of that yet.
But I do know there's a lot of.
I'm more of the natural. I just liked all the natural.
Well, our supplement company, Designs for Health, actually was talking about
precursor.
peptides today and all the new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
But I like to kind of get the fitness world's vibe before, because they're usually using things like that way in advance of mainstream hearing about it.
Yeah.
But I think it also depends what your goal is too. Like some people, they're injured all the time.
That's
they
right.
need different things than somebody who's just needs a little more power, a little more creatine maybe. Which monohydrate? So there's creatine monohydrate and creatine HCl.
Yep.
The HCl is called the old man one, supposedly, because there's less side effects, less water weight retention.
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
I have, and I've taken. Yeah. Do
you find the HCl
I do
feels
find
better?
a difference. Yes. Monohydrate's the purest form. I think it's probably the best form from a
Yes.
performance standpoint. But for a lot of people, gut, it irritates the gut, but also water retention is going to be an issue with that. And personally for me, that's why I usually kind of go the HCl route, is because I don't love that, that extra 5 to 10 pounds of fluff.
Yeah. And just drinking, just feeling dehydrated
But
all
some
the time.
people don't have that, you got to stay hydrated. You got to make sure you're drinking plenty of water on it. But it definitely, there is the bloating factor, I like to call it, with it a lot of times.
I really liked the HCl until people started saying it was old man creatine, and I had to switch it up again.
So
And
you're back on the monohydrate, huh?
Yeah. Well, 2 days ago was my first time getting back onto it.
Okay.
But you can lift way more.
I
go to the gym. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just keep rolling.
Yeah, there definitely is. Like I said, it's there's a lot of supplements out there that I don't know the validity but I do know creatine has been studied and researched more than anything, and I think the statistics, the studies will show you that there definitely is a performance standpoint. I know the cognitive part of it. I don't know that very well. I do know there's cognitive benefits from it. I've heard even people with like dementia and stuff like that they've said that. But I don't know that. But I do know there's a lot of other benefits they're finding with creatine.
Well, I had to do a report on it in a nutrition class in undergrad. So that was 2004. probably. And that back then they were showing tons of studies, really safe, really beneficial. Now we're 20 something years later, and they're still saying the same thing. So I think it's pretty good, good as far as supplements.
I think so.
Weightlifting go.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into bodybuilding at all?
You know, I didn't. I never went that route. I, like I said, I kind of got started in it, and I was a little bit of a lifter, you know, mainly a runner. Did kind of like full body circuit training with that, but then really started to get more passionate about the lifting side of it, but never wanted to go down that route of bodybuilding. I've had friends in the industry that have gone that route. I think probably for me, the reason I shied away from it more than anything is number one,
the Speedo.
I knew it was
Well,
going
it might be the
Speedo.
Speedo.
I was going to ask that too.
I think there's a couple things. I never really wanted to go the drug route and to compete at a high level. You know, I know there's raw, and I know there's you have to go that route, and that just never really interested me.
Right.
You know, and so, but also the discipline behind it is insane. You know, those guys.
Right.
I can go, you know, and just name guy after guy who has competed in that realm, and those guys are so disciplined.
Right.
And I just never really quite had that in me, you know, and so I think those were the two limiting factors for me, as I just didn't want to pump that stuff in me. Not that I'm bashing that by any means. I mean, but it just wasn't my route. And then also think I didn't have the discipline those guys had.
Right.
You know, you think about wrestlers, like talking about Iowa, you know, the wrestlers are known as the disciplined athletes. Those guys are just so disciplined. And I don't think I quite had that DNA makeup in me when it came to bodybuilding.
Wrestlers secretly like guys too, is what I've heard. So, I mean, you don't know.
Well, what about the Speedo? Do you wear that sometimes?
I don't
like,
have
around the house
no,
for your
not even
wife,
around the
or
house
no?
for the wife. We don't have Speedos in the closet or anywhere.
Have you ever worn
Just
a Speedo?
stood in front of a mirror and put a Speedo on?
I have never worn a Speedo. I must say.
You got to get him one for Christmas.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
What's your swim trunk game like then? What are you wearing to the
You know, my fashion in general is not very good. My wife will tell you that. She's pointing at me right now. I'm not a fashion guy. I mean, I wear gym clothes 95% of my life, and I've been doing it for 25 years. My swim trunks, I couldn't even tell you what they are. They might be some Columbias mixed with some North Face mixed with, but definitely not what is in style or on trend. That is not Matt.
Yeah.
I don't tend to stick with the trends. I tend to stick with what I like to wear, and that's what I'm going to wear.
Comfort. How long are they? Are they to the knee, or are you
no.
got them pretty short?
They're probably right down down to the knee, babe. Is that about right?
What do you like?
9 inches.
Now, I will say, speaking of the 9-inch versus the 7-inch, it's a good topic.
Yes.
Because I used to be a 9-inch guy to the T.
Just moved to 7?
I just moved to 7.
You're on a
I
journey.
love my Lulu
my
7-inch
goodness.
inseams.
Yep. You're on a journey to 5.
You think?
5 creeps up on you quick. I've been there. I think I actually just wore a 5 yesterday.
Yeah.
I did see that. And your socks are good. The shorter your shorts get, the higher your socks go too.
I don't know. I got the low cuts.
I know, I do too.
Now, I will plug these Fluxes. Have y'all heard of Fluxes?
Yeah. I think Sam wears those.
I love Flux. Flux
Where
is
they spread out your toes?
This is a fairly new company. It's a very
wife
minimalistic
has
shoe, but they're very comfortable. And
Yeah.
I've got 4 pairs now, babe. Is that right? I love them. I work out in them. They're not great for running, but they're great kind of a minimalistic shoe.
Yeah.
Is there individual slots for your toes?
There's
in
not.
it?
No, it's not. But it's a great shoe. But anyways, didn't mean to get off. I just want to plug.
We'll probably get a
Flux.
sponsorship for that, so we appreciate that. Yeah, that's great.
What's your wife's favorite body part on you? If you had to say without asking her.
I think it's probably my butt.
Is it?
I think she loves my butt.
The old glutes.
The old glutes. I guess I should keep it professional and say the glutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's definitely her number one priority. And yeah. Would that be correct, babe?
When you first met him, is that what you like
You
noticed?
said
on
turn
him?
around.
Turn around. Let me
Give
get
me
a good
Yeah.
look.
So
All right. So you kind of alluded to a day in the life for you. I want to hit on that a little bit more. So what do classes look like? What does training look like for you? I know you're there by 5, and then are you rolling into, is there class stuff, or is it more one-on-one? How does it work with the other trainers, that kind of stuff?
So we don't do any group classes. We do individualized and then small group training. Like I 5:30, I have a group of guys I train Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a group of anywhere from 2 to 4 guys. But the majority of what we do is either one-on-one individualized training or small groups. Like there was a group this morning of 7 girls I wasn't training them, but there was another trainer in there. So that's the majority of what we do is that small group, individualized one-on-one. I would say mine is probably 50-50, individualized versus groups. I don't do a ton of training. I probably train 20 to 25 hours a week, which is kind of my capacity. You know, when I first got into this business, I was the typical run yourself ragged. You know, there were times when I was training people where I would do 50 to 55 sessions a week, which was just exhausting, and did that for a long time. But I've found my sweet zone nowadays is that 20 to 25 hours a week. And I do the majority of that in the morning, usually done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's usually a mix of one-on-one and small group training. And that's what we do at our gym, is one-on-one and small group training.
Yeah.
We just don't have the capacity, the space. You know, I would love to have more space. We actually were going to expand, had a building under contract on Rosewood recently, and it got flooded in that big rainstorm, which was a blessing, but a little bit disappointment too, because we were looking at growing and expanding, and so I'm always open to that. But the majority of what we do right now is one-on-one. I've designed a group training system that I would love to one day be able to launch, but just the timing of that has not been there yet, and the space has not been there yet, and it might happen, it might not happen.
Yeah.
But it's something that, you know, that I'm passionate about, something that I've designed personally. And, you know, a lot of what we see today is the small group world. You know, it's the niche fitness, the Orange Theories, the base camps, nowadays you've got the Trimbles and the F45s and, you know, and so I've put what I believe to be kind of Matt's spin on that, you know, and I've got that system ready to launch, but just haven't had the time or the place to do it. And it may never happen. So I'm content right now with doing one-on-one in small groups. And then just we've got about 60 members, like I said, that come into the gym and do their own things. The majority of my members are CrossFit guys that have been members of CrossFit gyms that don't want to pay $150 a month anymore and kind of want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a big CrossFit guy myself, but a lot of my members come from that environment.
Gotcha.
My gym's a warehouse gym. Open air, 4,000 square feet, very set up very much like a CrossFit gym. And so that's kind of my day in, day out training is kind of like that.
Okay.
So you would let's say that Tom walked into your place and was like, hey, I just need I want my wife to think about my butt.
Irresistible.
What
I want
are
to be
you?
more irresistible. That's what I'd probably say. I'd say I want to be more irresistible than
She
I already
already thinks about me, but more. What's the program?
Would you have me
look
just
like?
take my shirt off right away? Or where do you start?
Would you squeeze his butt? Like, oh, yeah,
Do you start touching me early, or what do we do? Feel my biceps.
Number one, it really depends on where you're coming from. You know, if I've got somebody walking in off the streets who's never been in a gym, then that's going to look a little bit different than a guy that's been working out.
He could tell.
You know, but
you
that's
could feel it.
What do you think
think is
on my bicep?
What do you think? What do you think his current workout regimen is? If you had to guess, just by looking at him.
You want me to flex it?
oh
or anything?
man, am I setting myself up
Spin
here?
around. He
I
might
got
wanna
great
see
shoulders, but I think that's genetic.
Yeah, I don't. 3 days a week lifting.
Yep.
Is that part of your routine? 3 days a week?
I'm 3 to 4 days right
Three
now.
day, 4 days. Are you a group fitness guy? You don't strike me as a group fitness guy.
All right, I was.
You were a group fitness
I
guy.
just switched.
Okay, so where were you, group fitness world?
F45.
F45 guy. And you're now where?
Planet Fitness.
Well, hey, man. There is no.
I think I hit the age where it's okay, right? It's just by my house. I needed something.
Yeah.
And so I needed the
F45.
machines.
Well, tell him why you quit F45.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, my shoulders kept hurting, and they do a ton of on your arms like functional stuff, and I had shoulder injuries. Two, not enough photos of me. They got to get me. They got to get me in the cycle.
He didn't see that coming. He was so confused for a
I thought
minute.
I was gonna go another.
Yeah,
like
I thought
injury.
I thought I was going to go to another injury. But
No, and then really I couldn't make it down there. So I live in the Northeast,
Okay.
and for a while that was like an easy thing. Now with kids, school, the whole nine, I have to like be in this area. So I was like, all right, I need machines because I have a gym at my house, barbells, nice gym, but I worry about getting injured, and I want to do heavier weight but with safety. Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
So like I get worried by myself with a barbell or a dumbbell even because I feel like my shoulder just pops out.
Yeah.
You know?
So literally like subluxes, your shoulder
Yeah,
pops out?
yeah.
Okay. That's the thing. And
So you feel comfortable with me at Planet Fitness, though?
that's that's an interesting topic if you want to talk about it. Is the more
That was the most non-answer answer.
no, I'm
like,
totally
I'm not
comfortable with you at
Okay.
Planet Fitness.
All right, good.
It's just kind of the morphing of the fitness world over the past 25 years. When I first got in this business, it was all big box gyms.
Yeah.
We had the Columbia Athletic Club in town. We had Hampton Hill Athletic Club. You had the Gold's gyms. You had the New Life Fitness World out here. And so it was a big box all under one roof mentality. But it was a community feel. Like the Columbia Athletic Club for me, we knew everybody. We had 2,500 members, and I knew everybody that came into that gym. And it was the community aspect was, I think that's the one thing that CrossFit really, really tapped into was the sport and the community aspect. And so we got away, it started to, CrossFit came into the scene in 2007, 8, I think is when it kind of came in the scene. And they really tapped into that community, but also that sport. I think we're competitive people, for the most part by nature. And that's something they kind of morphed into as they took the competitive nature. People want to compete, but also people want community where they can encourage each other and do that. And so I think the fitness world saw that. And so I think that's when people started to launch into all of these boutique style fitnesses, and they take one aspect of fitness and that's what they do.
Right.
Which I think really personally to me is a detriment in some way, shape, or form, is that we tap into one side of fitness and we hone in on that, and to me it's all about balance, being well balanced. And I think that's the new era we live in, is it's all about, boutique style fitnesses. It's all about, we just had another one open on Rosewood called Trimble. Y'all familiar with Trimble?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a Pilates studio,
Yes.
so it's just crazy to see where it's come. And, so Planet Fitness, I think most of your big box gyms nowadays are your low cost, 10 super minimal overhead as far as working staff goes. You got the Planet Fitness, you got the Crunches, you got those big gyms, and that's kind of the world we live in now, is boutique fitness and $10 to $15 a month, gyms. I think you can get everything you need at Planet Fitness. I don't like the lunk alarm personally. I want to move.
I would like to throw some weights.
I want to
every
move
so
some heavy weight
Yes.
personally.
Yeah. Yes,
And
that's-
it's hard to move heavy weight at Planet Fitness.
Yep.
And I'm a big proponent of moving heavy weight if you can do it. And so, not to say that your Planet Fitness routine is not a good
Well,
routine.
it's not very much weight.
But I think that's, I think we kind of got on this topic talking about if he wanted a big
Yes.
butt or bigger glutes.
Yeah.
he'd come-
Yeah.
Well,
Make me
what-
more irresistible.
Well, I was trying to go with like what's a
What's-
program
yeah,
look like
yeah.
for you? So you take someone
Yes.
that walks into your gym. Are you putting them on?
We're gonna-
Here's what you need, or are you giving them nutrition? Are you starting them off fast and tapering off? Are you giving them home exercises?
So me now it's going to look different for every trainer in my gym because they're all independent contractors.
Right.
So we don't have a systematic approach to the way that which I would love to have is that this is the system. You walk in my doors, and that's kind of the small group training system that I designed is a little bit more of a systematic approach. But so my system is going to be, I'm going to test and assess every individual that comes in. I'm going to put them through a somewhat of a level of a mental assessment. I'm going to find out what your why is. I'm going to make you set some goals. I'm going to take you through a very quick, I've gotten, I've done the FMS. I've done a lot of different movement screens with people. And now I just kind of keep it simple. I just want to see you hinge. I want to see you squat. I want to see you push. I want to see you pull. And I just want to kind of see how people move through that. And so I'm going to take them through a testing of that. I'm going to test a little bit of their aerobic capacity. That'll be different for different individuals, but there's going to be that testing protocol, that comes in. And really it's going to be based off of what are your goals. I mean, that's any program we design, any program that we build for individuals should be based off what their goals are. Now, the way that I train individuals is going to be the same. If you look at the way I train my group of 60-year-old women versus the way that I train my 35-year-old guy, the system that they train within is the exact same. They come in, they go through a mobility portion that's 7 to 10 minutes long. I prefer for them to come in and do that by themselves. So I take them through that because I don't want to waste the time to do that. We go through a dynamic warm-up, and then we move into a strength and power portion. We're going to do strength movements. We're going to do power movements. Now, that might be a barbell back squat for some individuals, but it might be a dumbbell goblet squat for other individuals. But we're still going to be on a progression to where we're working to get stronger. And so we're going to do, the rep ranges are going to be 8 to 3. We're going to work in that strength paradigm. It's going to progress starting at 8, going to work towards 3. And then we're going to do that strength and power section with the people. And then we're going to move into a hypertrophy section that's going to be in that 8 to 12 rep range. The way that I personally do it is I do things with clients. It's all based off time segments. I found it for me, it's the easiest way to manage it. Now, me personally, when I work out, I don't typically follow that strict of a time thing because I can get a little carried away, and my 2 sets can turn into 8 sets, and I can go to meathead mode. It's real easy for me to go there where I want a little extra pump, but with my clients, everything is going to be that mobility section 7-10 minutes, dynamic warm ups about 4 to 5 minutes, strength portion is going to be 8 to 10 minutes, hypertrophy section is going to usually be 12 to 16 minutes. And then our conditioning piece is going to be, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. But it's going to be the same for every client. I'm going to test you, assess you. I'm going to see what your movement looks like. If you can't load your spine, if I don't think it's safe to load your spine, if I don't think it's safe for you to go overhead, I'm still going to move that pattern, but we'll do a landmine press to where we're pressing out. So I'm going to modify where I need to modify for every individual, but I'm going to train you the same way that I train 35-year-olds or 60-year-olds or 65-year-olds, just because I believe the science is there to say that we should be getting stronger. We should be trying to maintain power stimulus. We should be working hypertrophy, and then we should be working conditioning, heart rate, VO2 max. And so that's my passion. That's the way that I've done it for years. And so, that's the one thing I think trainers sometimes try to do is they try to get away from what they're passionate about, if that makes sense. I've spent a lot of time doing training, but I'm going to train you the way I train myself because it's the way that I love to train. And so that passion is going to come through when I'm training you, if that makes sense. I'm not going to try to make you do something just to do it, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of walking in the door. Now, I will say this, and this is the pitfall of the industry, I feel like, is that, if I've got you 2 days a week, I can't do it for you the other 4 or 5 days a week. And so many of my clients, so many of everybody's clients, we set them up to be successful, but they just will not do it on their own. And that's the unfortunate part is that I try to educate, I try to teach, I try to show them why they should be doing it, I try to encourage. And I will say, I feel like I do a good job of that and get people to do that, but I still have the people, they're going to come to me 2 or 3 days a week, and that's all they're going to do. Yeah. And I've got to be okay with that as a trainer. For a long time, I was like, I've got to make everybody be this and be that, but I can't do it for them. I can teach them, I can set them up to be successful. I can try to understand why they're not doing it, which is a big part because everybody has a why to why they're not doing it. And I think as a trainer, we have to understand why, Sally will only come to the gym twice a week. There's a reason why she's not doing stuff on her own. And so I try to tap into that as much as I can. But it's still the nature of the beast, is that people, it's the old accountability aspect, I think that a large portion of why people go to trainers is for accountability. And as much as we as trainers want you to be accountable to yourself, it's just a hard learning curve. Changing routines and habits, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, doing those things takes time, and you have to be willing to work on those things. And it's just, a lot of people just aren't willing to do that, and so, but that's kind of the way I typically take an individual that walks into my gym is I'm going to assess you, test you, find out what your goals are, and then we're going to lay a foundation for you to set you up to be successful. But the way that I train people is going to be the same.
And I think you probably attract people that want to look like you or have the same type of workouts and body type. Because to me, I always think if you want to learn how to be healthy, go to someone who's healthy. Don't go to someone who's smart. If you want to learn to, be fit, go to someone who's fit. Don't go to someone who's quote unquote smart. If you want to have a good relationship, go to someone to learn from that's had a good relationship for a really long time, not some person who has a bunch of degrees. The people who are doing it are the best people to learn from. Yeah. In my opinion, generally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even like in these group fitness things, you find people that all kind of like the same workouts, look the same because their bodies become similar because they're working out the same way all the time. Yeah.
Randy wants to look like a 20-year-old woman, so he likes getting trained by 20-year-old
men too. When I was doing just straight Orange Theory with my wife during COVID, everything kind of like shut down.
Yeah,
and I was like, I got to find somewhere that's just not going to be like yelling at me about a mask and not shutting everything down. So, and Orange Theory was like, yeah, when you're on a treadmill, you don't have to wear a mask, right? Yeah. So I'm like, all right, great, let me in. But my body became more and more like my wife's during that time. And then I had
His
to
cycle
change,
lined up
yeah,
with his
yeah,
wife's. Yeah, you're cycling.
Oh, so then I had to change it, and now they've introduced like strength and different conditioning things kind of to change that. But this was back in the day, and it's true. I was just working out with a lot of women a lot of the time.
Well, you know, that's the body transformation is, you know, and I think you said I want to look like you. And I think we live in a society definitely that buries its face behind social media. And I think we can fall into the trap of, I want to look like that, you know, and we're all created uniquely and different. There's different body types. There's different, you know, and sometimes you're never going to look like that. And so I try to encourage people to not fall into the trap of setting yourself up to look like that, you know, and because you may never, no matter what you do, you know, you may never look like that. I mean, I've seen people that do exactly what you tell them to do, that work hard, that eat right, that do these things, and their body just never transforms to the way they exactly want their body to transform. And that's just the way, that's your genetic makeup, and there's nothing you can do about that. And so I think that we don't want to fall prey to that of looking at somebody online and saying that's what I'm going to look like.
Right.
And then I think of another part of it too is that people also say, hey, I want to look like that. You got to be willing to put in the hard work.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been doing this thing. I've been doing this 25 years. You know, I've been working out 5 to 6 to 7 days a week for 25 years. You know, it's not something that happens overnight. And so you can't go into this notion thinking that, hey, I want to look like Matt, or I want to look like Randy, I want to look like whoever, and think that I can work out for 6 months and that's going to happen.
For sure.
You know, you've got to be willing to put in the hard work. Now, that being said, it can happen, but it's just going to take time.
You got to get going.
You know, and you got to get going.
Yep.
And some people are doing so many drugs and steroids too that you just
You don't know.
You don't know that when you're looking at them.
You don't.
And it feels like you're behind, or like you should be trying. You know, you're working out every day so hard, you're behind, but then you realize like, oh, they're just blasting testosterone and tren all day.
You don't know, you know, and that's why your goals are specific to you.
Yes.
And you have to find your why, and we've got to set you up to be successful based off of what your why is.
Yep.
And that's that. And I say that so much to people is you got to know what your why, and you got to be honest about what your why is. Mm-hmm. You know, because everybody's motivating and driving force is different, and a lot of times I don't think we're truly honest with ourselves about what our why is. And as trainers, we need to know that. You know, we need to know why you struggle to wake up on a Tuesday morning when you're not with me and go do 60 minutes of cardio. And what is the factor there? Is it we didn't sleep good? Is it we don't have good habits? We don't have good routines? Why are we not doing the things that we need to do? And I have to understand that to try to help you through that. You know, I can't make you do it, but I can try to understand it a whole lot better and realize that everybody's different. Everybody's got their garbage and their stresses that they're dealing with. And we need to try to set you up to be successful the best way we can. And so that's why it's an individualized, I think, you know, thing that we have to be willing to say. So,
you don't cross your legs often, do you? Or do you ever?
No, I crush my legs.
Oh, you do?
I do. I squat. I have a leg day 1 day a week.
No. Cross your legs, like see
cross.
Cross. I just can't picture.
No,
you.
I do. I think I'm a
Just like
I
real.
I think I'm a this guy. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's my natural
Nice.
cross.
That's
I
how-
do I sit like this? I don't really know, to be honest with
Can you picture him cross? Yes, I just feel like it's just you're meaty. Your legs are too meaty to cross.
Thick.
No,
Yeah.
I cross.
All right,
I do.
All right.
I do.
Good. What are you listening to in the gym? And are you like a headset guy like these, or like an earbud guy, a wired guy, or nothing?
Personally,
like a boombox.
My preference, if I had it my way, is I probably wouldn't listen to anything when I work
Yeah,
out.
me
I'm
too.
kind of I like to be in the mindset. I like to be set on it. Now I'm in a gym where there's other people working out, so I can't go that route because some people want music while they work out. So for me personally, if I had my way, I wouldn't listen to anything.
So you just whatever's overhead playing.
Whatever's overhead playing. That being said, I will say that if it's a heavy day, then, you know, I don't know if y'all, but there's a band called Volbeat. Yeah, it's a Swedish rock band. So that's kind of my go-to. If I need a little bit of an extra charge and a little bit of an extra push, I'm going to put Volbeat on the radio, and I'm going to kind of tap into that rock.
Do you go headset or earbuds, or what's your method?
No, I'll just blow everybody out the gym. I'll just turn the volume up and
top.
say, hey,
Nice.
y'all just got to bear with me for a second while I crank the music
need
up
this.
and get into the zone for this heavy set. But for the most part, music for me is not a big, you know, thing. I prefer, you know, just to listen to nothing.
Yeah.
Either nothing or the most obscure Swedish rock band.
That's
there
right.
is.
That's right. But yeah, that's kind of yeah.
Is there any trainer in the gym that trains people for bodybuilding or nutrition for that or anything that you know of?
No, I mean we don't have a at our gym a per se somebody that's working.
That goes
I
for
know
that.
like if you go to Brick House,
Yeah.
you know they have like posing rooms and things
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
They really cater and they really hone into
Yeah.
that bodybuilding aspect. But we don't have any trainers that. If I had somebody that came to me and said, "Hey, I really want to compete and I really want to bodybuild," I mean, I feel like I could set them up to be
program 'em.
successful
Nice.
in that. But we don't have. But the neat thing about my gym, guys, is we are a warehouse gym. It's 95 degrees in the summertime. I've got 85-year-old women that work out in there. We are so broad spectrum of a group of people. We've got 18-year-old college students, but we've got 85-year-old women that get in there and sweat. And so it's just a really unique community of people, really like nothing you'll find in Columbia, I don't think. That's kind of what sets my gym apart. It's just such a unique group of people that are in there to encourage each other and love on one another. But yeah, I mean, I could set you up to be successful in bodybuilding if that's what you wanted.
Nice.
We don't have, nutrition is different nowadays with you're not technically as a trainer supposed to prescribe nutrition plans.
right.
You have to be a
Get in trouble.
registered
Yeah.
registered dietitian. So I can't technically write you a meal plan, but I can give you advice on, how to eat or what to eat.
Right.
To be honest with you, I hate nutrition. I hate doing nutrition because 80% of the people I set up on nutrition, they
won't do it.
They won't do it.
Yep.
No, yeah. We've seen that.
And it's just really hard. Now, is that an important part? Yes. The big thing I try to hope, protein is a big one. I try to make sure people are getting enough protein, and then trying to stay the best you can with whole foods, just we live in a world that's just, we talk about sickness, and I think so much of it is this processed diet that we
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
pour into our bodies.
100%.
I think that's a big part of a lot of the things that we do. And so I try to tell you to focus on organic whole foods if possible. I'm old school. I'm a bodybuilding type guy, That's the way I've always trained. I'm a 1.5 grams per pound of lean body mass is what I try to eat a day.
Gram and a half.
It's per pound of lean body mass is what I've tried. For me, it's going to fall in at 250, to somewhere around that 250. But I'm old school, the fact that I try to simplify it as much as possible. For most people, 25 to 30 grams of protein with 25 to 30 grams of carb with 7 to 10 grams of fat, consistently eating. There's so many different methods out there,
Yeah.
About how we should eat, why we should eat that way. And I've just never wanted to go down that rabbit hole. I know what works for me, and I've seen it work for most people that I've prescribed if they do it. And so I tend to just stick with that,
Yeah.
But I know, you got the paleo, you got the ketos, you got the this, you got the that, you got all kinds of stuff out there. But I just tend to stick with what's worked for me for years and try to get people to, eat balanced type, higher protein, not a low carb guy. I mean, it depends on what the goals are behind it. If I got somebody that's severely obese that, I need to get a lot of weight off of, I might do that but I'm, pretty balanced, 40-40-20. I remember the old zone diet,
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, usually the majority of the time is what you're looking at with me. But that's going to vary sometimes from individual to individual based off of what their needs and demands are. But I just don't love nutrition.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to get people to do it.
I feel the same way. It's a way. People say to me, "What should I be eating?" And I'll look at them and say,
Doesn't matter.
I'm literally not even wasting my time talking to you about it.
But it matters so much,
I know.
And that's the insanity
That's
of it.
exactly
Is
it.
it matters so much, but as people, I think to me it goes back to once again mindset.
Right.
If your mindset,
100%.
if you don't have good routines, habits, self-discipline. I mean, Brian Cain breaks it down into like 8 pillars of elite mindset, what they are: motivation, commitment, self-control, discipline, all that stuff. But that's so much of eating, prepping, meal planning, doing those things is so important.
And habits too, I think, are
Yeah.
big. And who you're around is big.
Yeah.
Like if you just wake up in the morning and you just eat eggs, or you just have an apple, it seems like pretty normal. But people are out there like, oh, I need to have like a different type of breakfast every morning, and I need Fruit Loops and cereal, and I need a million
Waffles
things, and I need
syrup.
19 different things in my coffee. And it's like, they make it so complicated
They
just to
do.
make themselves so unhealthy.
They do.
It's
They
like
do.
just have a couple eggs and just get going.
And I think with eating that is the key there, as you just talked about, is you can't overcomplicate it, man. is keep it simple. We don't all like eating the same things all the time, but you really should be eating most of all the same things all the time, if that makes sense. Lean proteins, fruits, veggies, good complex carbs. And so, but not overcomplicating it. I think that's what, one thing I try to look at, the strength world, the bodybuilding world, and try to take, what they have done well, and that's the one thing bodybuilders just do so well is they're so disciplined and so the meal prep aspect of it, but they don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
I mean, they keep it simple. Lean proteins. It might be a ton of chicken a week, but you know what? That's okay.
Works, yeah.
It works.
Yep. Is there a client or a person that at your gym that you would use as like if you had to shoot a commercial, who are you choosing to be your poster person?
That's good.
To
That is
represent
good.
baseline.
You want to shout them out.
That's
Or
good.
her. Or the
her.
85-year-old woman.
Yep.
I think I don't know if there's one client, I think if you ask me what, like I have one guy that I train that has made phenomenal gains in strength and body transformation from a standpoint of getting stronger and getting bigger. Now he's lax in his discipline when it comes to eating.
Yeah.
And so he lacks in other areas, but the way that he's gone from, barely squatting a barbell to squatting, 205 pounds for reps of 3s to 5s. I mean, I've got stories like that, and then I've got people that have had total, lost 40 to 60 pounds. I mean, to say there's one person that done it, I think I would just say there's a lot of people that I'm really proud of the way they've made those gains. If I pigeonholed everybody to say, hey, this is what I want you, I have expectations for all my clients, and I want my clients to meet all those expectations. Yeah. But what I have to realize is that the majority of them are not going to meet Matt's expectations, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I have to be okay with that as a trainer. I don't have to look at myself as a failure, but I have to be okay with, what, I'm going to take the best of what they give me, and I'm going to make the best of that situation. Is so important for me to remember, because it is. It's easy for me to get frustrated. It's easy for me to get angry. It's easy for me to say, you know what, you're not willing to do what I'm telling you to do, and go find somewhere to work out.
Right.
But that does nobody any good.
Right.
I've got to be willing to take what they're willing to give me and make the absolute best of that version of that person and encourage them to change, and so to answer your question, no, there's not one person that I would say this is the poster child of Matt's training. There's a lot of people that I could take you through countless stories after countless. Like I had a girl that I trained, not going to say names here, but trained 2 years ago, and her goal was, and I talked about this, was to be able to sit on an airplane comfortably. She was so embarrassed of her body image, of who she was. She wouldn't hardly leave her house. So we don't realize how bad some people are just crippled and struggling with things. And so just to see her over time grow confidence, just to walk inside a gym door was a huge goal for her. And she started to slowly lose weight and to gain more confidence. And so that's a big part of it for me too, is that so many people are scared to walk inside of a gym. And I think we see a lot of that with females, that are intimidated by that. And so a lot of times it's just getting people to overcome that hurdle of trying to do that. And so there's so many stories I could tell you about people that hopefully I've made an impact on their life. My biggest goal, like I said, I feel like I've been doing this long enough. I feel like I'm educated enough. I'm not a guru at anything. I don't try to be a guru at anything, but I try to love people well. I try to care for people, and then I just try to set them up to be successful. And what that looks like for every individual is going to be different. But I think that if you talk to most of my clients that I've trained throughout the years, that's what they would say that I've given them.
Yeah.
As I've loved them well. There we go. You said you love a cry.
Yes.
That I've loved them well, that I've invested in them, and that I've tried to make them better people. And that's so different for everybody. And that's my goal at the end of the day. That's the goal for my business, really. Is I just want to love people. I want to set people up to be successful, but I just want to love them. We live in a society that's so torn apart right now with hatred and divide. And, I want my place to be a place, no matter what you're like, no matter who you are, you walk in my gym and you feel loved, you feel cared for, but then you're also given the knowledge you need to set yourself up on this fitness journey to be able to walk it successfully.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do. And I think that's what, if you took an interview from most people in my gym, they would tell you that we do that well, is that we love people well and care for people well. And we, we have a lot of knowledge there too. I've been doing this a long time, and I have other trainers that have been doing this a long time. And, but that's my passion today.
Yeah, it's great.
Is just to do that.
Well, it seems to me like your target market is men who age out of CrossFit. and
Or
I've been
women.
or maybe women who age out of CrossFit, because there's kind of the world where there's women that age out of, quote unquote, age out of running.
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Yeah.
And I feel like Pilates is kind of a natural move, or yoga's a natural move.
Yeah.
And then guys who quote unquote age out of CrossFit, where do they go?
Yeah.
Which is like kind of where
Planet
we're at
Fitness.
right now, where it's like you hit the point where you're like, all right, I'm still fit and I still want to work out and I still want to be there, but I also don't know if I want to go compete against 23-year-olds
Yeah.
and how much I
Yeah.
can back squat. And it's not there's not an obvious place to go.
There's really not. I mean, we're pretty unique in the fact we're 24 hours, number one. So it's a Kiko gym.
Oh,
so you can
nice.
come and go
Yeah,
whenever you
that's
want to. I would say my target market is really kind of split between my target market for my open gym memberships, totally different than our training clientele. My target market for the open gym is going to be the guy, yes, and it might not be the guy that's necessarily gotten away from that, but it's the guy that doesn't want to pay $150 a month anymore to be able to go in and do those workouts. And they've found a place where they can do it at half the cost. They can do it on their own time, on their own schedule. And I would say that's probably 85% of my membership is men and women that have come from CrossFit backgrounds. And not because they necessarily got hurt there or it just they didn't want to spend the money anymore, and they weren't necessarily getting out of the classes the value that they thought they were paying, and so they found a cheaper place. Now, my clientele basis is going to be the totally different clientele base. It's going to be a lot of, stay-at-home moms. I would say training clientele is probably 70% female, 30% male. Mine's about 50-50, maybe even a little bit higher male for me. But it's a totally different clientele base than my open gym membership. And that's the beauty of my gym, is that they all vibe together so well. You got, like this morning we had, one of my trainers was training a group of women, 4 of them that were all 75 years or older. And then I had a guy over here that was doing power snatches. It's just that mesh of community that,
That's cool.
they get along and love each other well. But it's really, my target market's 2 totally different people for my membership. But then it's also a couple of my members too are just guys like me that are old meatheads that like to work out, move heavy weight, do those things, and just, like the flexibility to be able to come 24 hours is a big appeal. Kiko, to being able to come and go whenever you want to. I think that appeals to a lot of my members. I think that draws a lot of them in there. So it's just really 2 different worlds as far as, what's my demographic I'm going after with training clients versus membership clients.
Yeah.
I don't market the gym a lot. I've got 4,000 square feet, but if I get more than 60 members, it starts to get a little squirrely at times in there with 4 or 5 trainers, training groups. And so I try to keep my membership around 60. And then, allow for trainers to be able to utilize the place to the best of their ability. That's the majority of what we do there. And so that's what we focus on. And so that's but I am kind of, space-wise, if kind of outgrown. And that's why I would love to, eventually, if it's in the plans, is to expand and to grow into something a little bit different. And
Yeah. Come up to the Northeast.
come up to the Northeast.
We're talking. Where do you live?
We live in Forest Acres.
Oh, Forest Acres.
Yep.
Nice.
So right,
Yeah, you're right in there.
Right there.
You have 2 T's in your name for
Yep.
Matt?
Yep.
What do you think of guys that spell it with 1 T, M-A-T?
I
There's guys out there.
There
that
are
do that.
guys?
Yeah, I was surprised. I met one.
I don't know what to think of them. One thing I try not to be these days is judgmental. So I'm not going to judge anybody that spells their name with 1 T.
Because he could be bigger than you.
He could be bigger than
You
me,
don't know.
and he might have a good reason why he spells
right.
it with 1 T, but I don't really know why that is.
Okay.
I can't imagine there's a lot of guys that are that much bigger than you.
Not as dense.
thicker,
Not
not
as dense.
density.
Not as-
Yes.
They're playing college football. Those are guys.
right.
Oh man,
All right. I had 2 last ones.
Yeah,
So, we might do a men's calendar shoot for charity. And we're wondering if, we do a podcast
don't-
edition and seeing maybe you'd be
good.
like,
Speedo. We'll buy the Speedo.
well,
for
yeah,
you.
one of the months.
you might need to look to your left and
You
ask
might
if
be
that's okay.
if you're interested in that, we'll keep you on the short list for that. And then you grew up in Columbia.
I did.
You love it here, because I meet a lot of people that grew up here that want to leave.
No,
But we love Columbia.
I love Columbia. I've been here my whole life. It's a great. I think it's a great place to raise a family. I'm personally myself. I'm not a big social butterfly, so I don't have to have a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
But there's plenty to do for the kids. There's plenty to do if I want to be able to do it. I think it's a great little community. I've been here, like I said, for 46 years, and so I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
nice.
if you're a single professional, I don't know, there might be better places to go, but I think even that's changing a little bit here. I think they're trying
sure.
to, that's what my wife does for a living. She works for South Carolina Central Alliance Economic Development, so she probably could speak to that a whole lot better than I could.
Nice.
But I think it's a great, I think it's a great little place to raise a family and to. I'm not a big city guy.
You don't see yourself leaving.
I will say this, and this is something that's I've been trying, but probably never going to happen. I'm a farm guy. I would love.
Oh, yes.
I would love to have 20
Move
to
to
30.
Iowa.
I would love to have 20. I would love to have 20, 30 acres of land to be able to be somewhat self-sustaining as far as, growing my own stuff and doing that stuff. And I know it's not in the table right now, but deep down, that's hopefully one day I'll be able to do that,
Like animals and the whole nine.
Yeah, my granddad was a big farmer, and I think it was in my blood, and, I would love to have animals and do that and, have corn and vegetables and fruits and do all that stuff and be able to be somewhat self-sustaining, as far as, diet we eat. I think that would be ultimately my plan would be able to move to the country and do that. But, with schools and stuff like that, we'll probably be in the city for a while. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. We love it here. We love, Forest Acres. It's gotten crazy over there, but
Yeah.
we're Hatton in Columbia. I feel like it's booming everywhere now.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Nice. Well, I have one last question.
yeah.
What type of mustaches have you had over the years? And do you ever see yourself having one?
Not a facial hair guy.
At
I've never
Zero?
had zero
Is that from
facial.
Citadel?
I think
days?
part of it is I'm a little bit embarrassed because I can't really grow one very good.
Oh.
It doesn't fill out very well. I'm that spotchy, that a little bit here, a little bit there kind of guy. And so I think a little bit of it's probably embarrassment. I just don't want to look like this guy who's trying to grow a beard and a mustache, but hadn't quite been able to fill it out.
Yeah.
And so I've never had a mustache and never had a beard. If I did, I would probably, I don't know.
Like
what
a
I-
Tom Selleck, just like a nice push broom. Right
I know.
there.
I was trying to figure
could
out what
see
would
that.
look good.
Like a
I
thick,
mean, I like
not
y'all's
sure.
look. I think y'all have I'm not a big bushy beard. I've got a ton of guys I go to church with and that work out at my gym that have these big
yeah, that's
old
too much.
bushy gym beards, but I don't love that.
Yeah.
If food gets caught
Feels
in
dirty. Yeah.
it, all kinds of stuff happens. It's just. So I don't know. Facial hair, has never been something on my radar. But I think part of it's probably a little bit of embarrassment that I can't quite fill one out.
Do you grow your sideburns a little bit longer sometimes?
Usually about middle of the till I go get it cut, and then that's about right. I've never been a pork chop guy or anything like that. I'm pretty simple, I'm
It's always
I'm just a very simple. I'm a pretty simple guy.
Great. How do people find you? What's hit the address again? Social media, websites.
Yeah, so
Personal
website,
cell.
baselinefitness.sc. At gmail.com is my Gmail. I'm so bad, guys, with social media. Baselinefitnesssc.com is our website.
Nice.
I don't even know what my social media handle is. What is my handle? Baseline_cola
Boom.
is my Instagram.
Get you some followers over there.
We'd love for you to come by, check out. I'd love for you guys to come work out with me.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we set that
As
up?
long as
Would
we
y'all
can
be willing to do
can
that?
we film it?
I'd love that. Would y'all be willing to
Yeah.
come in and do a workout?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you wear overalls and no shirt underneath? No, we'll definitely do. Actually, we'd like to do like segments where we highlight and do gyms for our chiropractic side of things. So
We didn't really get into y'all. I mean, are we out of time?
oh, close.
We pretty much are.
Okay, never mind. I just wanted to see what y'all's workout regimen was like. I know you've heard a little bit of it, but
He does a lot of. He does a lot of Pilates.
so you do
I
3
do a
days
lot
lifting?
of dance.
Yeah,
Full body?
I try to do like a push day, a pull day,
Okay,
and then
all
a
right,
leg day,
all right.
and then a mix match of stuff.
That's- I know, and I change it up all the time too, which I'm trying not to as much. But I'll go like I'll run a marathon or a half marathon, and then I'll switch to lifting, then I'll switch to hockey, then I'll get back into
Well,
something
that's okay.
else.
I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
I think I get bored
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, great.
So this
man.
was great. Yeah,
Yeah, I
thank
appreciate
so
you
much
guys
for being
having me
the
on.
show. Everyone, go check them out.
Absolutely. Come check us out. And thanks for having me on again today, guys.
All right.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.